Hey everyone,
Hey everybody.
welcome to another Travel Therapy Mentor video. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of a life update and then talk a little bit about what we're doing right now in terms of working and kind of update things on financial independence. We've got a lot of questions recently on like what our plans are for the future. Are we going to travel anymore? Those types of things. So Wendy's going to introduce us and then we'll talk a little bit about our current situation.
All right, for those that may not know us, we are Whitney and Jared Casaza. We started Travel PT when we were new grads in 2015, so we've been in the travel therapy industry for over a decade now, coming up on over 11 years. As we'll talk about tonight, just kind of a life update where we're at currently, but basically we traveled off and on for the last 10 years or so, have been all over the country as PTs, traveled all over the world in our free time. We have had travel therapy mentors since 2018. We've been educating future, current, and aspiring travel therapists for all these years. So if it is your first time stumbling upon our page, welcome. We have a wealth of information that you can go back and watch on our old videos and podcasts and on our website at traveltherapymentor.com. Tonight's going to be a little bit more of a personal update, but we're also going to talk just a little bit about what financial independence is, how we got to the point that we're at currently in our careers and in our life, and how you could, follow a similar path if that's your goal to achieve financial independence through travel therapy, to achieve like a semi-retirement type lifestyle. So that's what you'll hear a little bit about tonight. Thanks to those of you that are tuning in live on either Instagram or Facebook. If you are watching live, we'd love if you'd say hello in the comments and let us know if you have any questions. Hit the thumbs up button, and shout out to those of you that will listen later on the replay on our podcast and on our YouTube channel.
So I guess we should probably start talking about financial independence, what our plan was originally, what we actually did. So I discovered the whole like financial independence, early retirement, movement probably right before graduation 2015. And I get obsessive about things. So I really dove into that and decided like that's what we should shoot for. We should try to save as much as we could, try to reach financial independence as quickly as possible. And that's basically what we did. So our first few years, we worked nonstop. We tried to work back-to-back contracts, work extra hours if we could. I worked PRN some. We created the website. We tried to do everything we could to make as much money as we could to basically get to a point of financial independence and not have to work full-time. And we probably really got there, I would say, around 2015, or 2020, sorry. So it was about 5 years after the original goal. And that included 2 long international trips in there too. We were out of the country for 5 months in 2018 and for 4 months in 2019. And then of course, COVID 2020 kind of threw everything in disarray, but that's probably about the time when we could confidently say that we didn't need to work anymore. So we had enough saved and invested that we would be able to live off just that. And people say that's crazy, 5 years, how could you do that? Well, our lifestyle was very, very minimal at the time. And we plan to continue to live a very minimal lifestyle. And we still do to an extent, but it's definitely changed a little bit over time as we've made more money and saved even more money. But we based all of our financial independence calculations on a pretty lean lifestyle. We lived in a camper. We were used to not living with a whole lot. So that's what we thought we were going to continue to do.
Yeah, so basically for the first 3 years from 2015 to 2018, we worked back to back to back contracts, full-time as travel PTs, and we were saving over 75% of our income, just shoveling as much as we could towards investments and saving at that time. So we really front-loaded our investments, and investing early in your career is really a big part of using compound interest and letting that grow for you over time. A lot of people ask us about student loans. The reason why Jared kind of went down that rabbit hole in the beginning of figuring out what we were going to do with our lives was a lot because of student loans. He wanted to figure out how are we going to shape our financial future and pay off our loans.
Yeah.
He ultimately came to the conclusion that we were going to come out ahead financially if we utilized the income-driven repayment plans. And instead of paying back the loans up front, instead just paid ourselves and paid into our retirement and our savings accounts and our brokerage accounts early on, while utilizing more or less loopholes with the income-driven repayment plans. Now, this is going to be different. We get a lot of questions now from people coming out of school right now. Things have changed a lot in the last couple of years with student loans. Things are still continuing to change, and there's really no one certain answer right now. but this may or may not be the best option for somebody coming out of school now. Full disclosure.
Yeah, back then, I mean, Woody's right. Like I kind of got into I was always into finance my whole life, but I really got into it because I was searching for like, what should we do? How should we pay off our loans? And then once we do pay off our loans, what are we going to do with the money? And I was back then thinking, okay, we'll pay off our loans as quickly as possible, and then we'll buy rental properties. That was my plan initially. And then, yeah, I stumbled into the financial independence world and started reading a lot more about investing index funds. Decided to not go into real estate, and also then started doing some just cursory research on income-based repayment plans, and then kind of started doing the math on it and realized like, oh, it doesn't make any sense to pay off these loans quickly because these plans exist that will allow us to make more money investing early on than the interest that will accrue. And that's not even considering the fact that maybe the loans eventually get forgiven. So my plan always back then was I want to make the best decision, assuming that forgiveness never happens. And if we can come out ahead, even if there is no forgiveness, then that's just icing on the cake if it happens. So back then, and any of you guys have been following along for a decade now, I got really into writing about student loans. I've probably written 10,000 words or more about student loans. Most of that was back then when I was going through this journey myself and figuring out what was best for our situation. So yeah, the income-based repayment plan, that was like it kind of turbocharged our journey because we could save a lot more money, we could max out our retirement accounts, and put us in a much better position. And at this point now, we're way, way, way ahead of where we would have been had we paid off the loans quickly. So I think that was the right decision back then. I think things going forward are going to be more difficult though. So people graduating 2026 and on are probably going to have a harder decision on what to do for student loans.
Yeah, we're not going to do a full student loan update right now because we still are getting a lot of questions about that all the time, but there's no certain answer right now. And so we just don't have a great answer for you on what you should do. But as always, you should definitely be talking to a financial advisor and a student loan counselor to figure out like what's the best decision for you with your loans. And there's lots of resources now that can help you run the calculations on like where you would be financially if you choose one plan over another. Back then, Jared was just like creating Excel spreadsheets and like coming up with his own numbers because that stuff didn't really exist. But long story short, we get that question a lot of like, wow, you met all these financial goals and semi-retired and became financially independent and paid off your student loans. The short answer is no, we did not pay off our student loans. So we actually still do have our student loan debt, and that is a strategic financial decision. That's not being, what's the word for, careless in any way, keeping this debt. It was a strategic financial decision to keep the debt right now.
Yeah, and at this point, like, people always ask questions about like, well, what are you going to do if there's forgiveness and the tax bomb and all this stuff? Like, our plan always was to save and invest so much that was not even a consideration. And that's basically where we're at now. Like, our student loan balances are basically negligible parts of our financial position. So it's not even a big deal. Like, we could easily just pay off the loans if we wanted to, but we're continuing to hold on to them because I still think it's the right decision. I still think probably forgiveness is a potential in the future. So if at some point it doesn't make sense anymore, we'll just pay them off. But like, that is such a small portion of our financial picture now that it's really not even a big deal, which is also why I'm not so motivated to continuously write articles about student loans anymore, because it's not really a huge concern of ours anymore.
Yeah. So, when people ask how we got to where we are, obviously every person's situation is unique, and there's parts of our story that won't work for you, of course. But we definitely still feel that travel therapy is a path to financial freedom for people, depending on your goals and your priorities and how you structure your life. If you continue to live like a pretty frugal lifestyle those first few years out of school, and you can make part of your financial plan shoveling the money toward paying down the loans while putting a small amount into investments. And then once the student loans are paid off, put more toward investments. We know a lot of people that have done it that way. We know so many travel therapists that have paid off their loans in 3 to 5 years while being travel therapists. So there are so many ways that you can use travel therapy to your advantage to both pay off your loans and heavily pad your investments early in your career. But we definitely recommend, like, if you have the option for a 401k, that you start contributing to that at least a little bit early in your career. Don't neglect investing early on because you're going to lose out on a lot of compound interest if you do.
Yeah, and all these decisions, like the student loan thing, whether you should pay them off or whether you should invest early on, I mean, you have to go by probabilities, and that's what I was doing back then. I was like, okay, well, I feel like the equity market is a little bit overvalued currently, but I know what the interest rate on our student loans is going to compound at, and I know what the historical rate of return for, say, the S&P 500 is, and I just did a probability calculation of what do I think is probably going to lead to the best outcome. And by luck, the last 15 years, or I guess since we graduated, 10 or 11 years has been extremely good for stock market returns. That doesn't mean that the next 11 or 12 years are also going to be great going forward. So any kind of financial decision you make like that, you have to make it on a probability basis, because you can never know what the next decade is going to hold in terms of returns. So, if you're trying to decide, should I pay off these loans that are at 6% versus should I invest the money? One side of the equation, this side's going to compound at 6%. This side could be 0% in 10 years, or it could be 20% a year in 10 years. You don't really know. So you just have to go based on historical returns and probabilities.
Yeah. So anyway, all of that to say, when people ask us, like, what's financial independence? How did you get to where you are? I mean, it's not rocket science. Like, it seems far-fetched, it seems complicated, but it's just saving a significant more than you're spending. And that's what we did. We just put a big gap between our savings and our spendings. Like I said, the first several years we were saving more than 75% of our income. Jared probably even more than that. He was even more frugal than I was, and was able to do all these side hustles and things to even build extra cash on top of just our travel therapy contracts. But I would say the majority of everything that we made in the beginning, and the reason why we got into such a strong financial position in only 3 to 5 years, was travel therapy. Yes, we definitely worked overtime. Jared picked up a PRN job. We started our blog back then, and then our business. But in those first several years, we were making almost no money from our blog or our business. That was just kind of a side project, honestly, just a place to write down our thoughts and share some of what we were doing. We never started Travel Therapy Mentor or our original blog with the goal of that becoming a job or something that made us any significant amount of money. We just thought, like, oh, if we make a little bit of extra cash on the side from this one day, then that would just be, an extra little vacation here or there, or whatever. But some people would be like, well, it's because you didn't retire, you just switched careers. Like, now you guys have this business that you do, and that's why you don't work full-time as PTs. But that's not the case.
Our business never really started making any decent money till around 2020, and that was at the point where we kind of already got into financial independence anyway. So some of like the lifestyle expansion that we've had is because of the business, for sure. And had we not had that, we would not have increased our expenses like we have. But we never planned to do that in the first place. So it was kind of just like, okay, great, we have extra money now. We can live in a nicer neighborhood, buy a nicer house, buy new cars. We can do those things. But, that was never in the plan. And we made all of our projections based on 2020. We don't need to work anymore. If we want to work part-time some, great. But we don't need the money. We can just live off of investments. And that was kind of where we were back then.
Yeah. So kind of the path that we took, we worked full-time as travel PTs those first 3 years. And then we started doing like a 6-month on, 6-month off for 2018, 2019, 2020. We worked like less than 6 months a year, taking like 1 or 2 travel contracts. And then when 2020 came around, and so during that time also we were traveling, 2018, 2019, we traveled internationally for fun. So we started exploring the world. That was not for work at all. We didn't work abroad. So yeah, we had so many adventures because we had gotten ourselves to such a good financial position. And then we had to like kind of stop traveling a little bit in 2020, spent more time at home, but we did squeeze in like a road trip toward the end of the year when things got a little bit better with COVID. And then we continued our international travels for fun in 21, 22, 23. And all those years we took like 1 3-month travel contract during that time and worked like a little bit of PRN here and there.
Yeah. So 2018, after we've been traveling for 3 years, is kind of when we started to say that we were semi-retired, which that meant that we were just going to work 6 months or less per year and then do trips or do something with the other part of the year. And so that was definitely the case in 2018, 2019. Kind of going into 2020, though, like I said, when we got to a more comfortable financial position, we never worked more than 1 contract a year ever after that. And I think in 2020, we didn't work any contracts. So
we just did PRN that year.
Yeah.
Because of COVID.
that wasn't even really semi-retirement anymore. We were just pretty much not working much as PTs, and that's continued up until now.
Yeah. And so, in those 10 years, we only worked full time for 3 of them. We worked very, very part time for the next 6, 7 years. Um, so we not only achieved financial goals that were great during that time, but we also achieved travel and like life goals that were so amazing. We had bought our camper and our truck in cash after only 2 contracts, and then sold those. We had bought a townhouse in cash, and then that was our townhouse that we lived in from 2020 through 2025. And that was kind of like our home base in Virginia between travels. We traveled to all 7 continents for fun. We've been to over 50 countries. We made it to all 50 US states and all 63 US national parks during all that time. So our journey as travel therapists just exploded. Like in those first couple of years, we had some goals and we thought like, oh, this will be great. I remember thinking when we graduated PT school and we were making more money as travel therapists, we thought maybe we would travel for 5 years. And then Jared really had high financial goals. He thought, I'm going to fully retire after this, maybe not have to work at all. I knew that I wasn't going to save that aggressively and that I had a higher student loan balance than him. So my debt was a little higher. So my goal back then was like, after we travel for 5 years, maybe I can not work full time, but maybe I'll work like 32 hours so I can still get benefits or something like that. And after like year after year, we just kind of kept getting ourselves in an even better financial position to where it became clear that we weren't even going to have to work that amount of hours. And that we, all of a sudden we had these amazing travel goals that we were meeting too. Like I never thought we were going to make it to all 7 continents during that time or all the national parks, but it just kind of like this cool lifestyle kept developing. So we were really able to just achieve incredible things in those 10 years. And again, I know like some of our story sounds crazy, but we know so many other travel therapists that are doing parts of our story or they're doing it their own way. We talk to travel therapists all the time that are paying off their student loans, that are transitioning to part-time work, that are taking 3 months off to go travel to Europe or Asia or go to the national parks. They're checking off bucket list items so that these goals are achievable, maybe not exactly in the order that we did them or to the extreme that we did them, but it's achievable.
Yeah, and we try to purposely not hype up what we did exactly because part of it, honestly, I regret doing it. Like that first 3 years where we were working so much and stressed a lot, I would not go back and do that again. So I don't recommend that to other people. So some of what we did, I don't think honestly is realistic for most people. So we don't go out of our way to hype up what we did and like brag about um, reaching financial independence and all that stuff. Like, of course, I chronicled the whole journey. You can see from month 1 to now on the Fifth OPT website. I've written like 125 monthly updates or something. So you can see all of it. But yeah, I don't really think that like that should be most people's goal is to just save extremely aggressively and then never work again. It just back then it was like this dream that I had, I guess, that it turned out to not be realistic, honestly. Like even though I don't need to work, I now have started working part time because I don't think anybody that has the ambition to save a ton of money and reach financial independence is going to be the type of person that just wants to not work. I still like to do things. I mean, obviously, we have our business. I work a little bit on that, but I still want to be out of the house doing things. So I think for most people, the goal should not be to sprint to the finish line and then do nothing. I think the goal should be to taper down your work and then transition into part time or find something else that you want to do. But you have to realize that you need to transition into something because otherwise, if you're the type of person that spent 60 hours a week working towards this goal, you're not going to be the type of person to just go sit on the beach like I thought I was going to do. It's not really realistic.
Yeah. We're going to get into talking about more of what we're doing now, but um, we did so much travel and everything once we had reached semi-retirement and basically financial independence, and we traveled the world and it was awesome and it was amazing. But, it honestly came down to the point where we were like, this isn't fulfilling long term. Like it's amazing and we still value all the travel that we did, but all along we just kept feeling this pull to like plant some roots, start a family, have purpose. If you're just gallivanting around the world and just like not really having like a lot of purpose or a lot of work. And all along, I mean, we did build this business where we were working a little bit on the side, which I think helped us. Like it was nice to, each week that we were traveling, set aside some time to write articles or make videos or put ourselves into some content, because yeah, it's not really that fulfilling to just like vacation all the time.
Yeah. Which we had no idea about, honestly, and I'm sure a lot of you guys watching, if you haven't done it, it's really hard to understand what it's like. It's because it's so easy to, in your mind, romanticize like traveling all the time and going to all these countries and doing all these things, but at some point it just becomes like a checklist. Like, I don't know, it sounds a very privileged thing to say, but honestly it's true. Like, it's not as fulfilling as you think it would be, especially after years of doing it, right? And that's why our whole mindset has shifted, and why like now we don't really want to travel that much. We much rather would spend time at home or with family and with our baby and our baby on the way. It's so much more fulfilling now than we ever would have thought. Like, if you ask me 10 years ago, would I want to be traveling around the world or would I want to have kids, I would have said traveling around the world 100%. But if you ask me that now, it's like not, it's like 90-10. Like, I would much rather be at home hanging out with the baby than traveling around the world. It's weird how your mindset shifts over time.
But with that said, I mean, I think, achieving financial independence, you're going to shape your own goals and your own path. And we know a lot of people that are kind of like utilizing travel therapy to get into a good financial position so that they have the time and the space to build something on the side. Like, maybe you want to build your own cash pay clinic once you stop traveling, or you want to build your own online business, or you want to pursue some other passion or have more time for your existing family. We talk to people that have families already. So you should always be working towards something, not just like this retirement of like vacation.
Yeah.
So we can definitely attest to that.
Yeah. And one thing that I've really learned is that relaxation, vacation is only a good thing if you work hard before that. If it's a break from working hard. If your whole life is like vacation, relaxation, at least for whatever type of person I am, it's really depressing. It's like you feel like you're not getting anything done. You feel worthless. Like, it's not a good, like, it's like that old saying. It's like, you can't appreciate the sunshine without rain or something like that. So like, if you're not working hard, then vacation doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel like a break from anything, right? So it's kind of funny. I was telling Whitney, like, now I've started working 2 half days per week, and after not working at all as a PT for a while, even 2 half days a week, it seems a little bit daunting. But what's really crazy is I appreciate the days that I'm off so much more than I did when I had 7 days a week off. It's like, it's a weird mindset where when you have something to do, then the break feels good. But if you don't have anything to do, the break feels unfulfilling or something. It's like hollow.
Yeah. So just a little bit about kind of our journey in financial independence and where your head might be at if you're thinking about pursuing some form of this. So we got a question about, did you have your baby while traveling? So let me go back to just kind of explaining our timeline for those of you that may not know. So from 2015 to 2018, we traveled full time as travel physical therapists, taking back-to-back contracts. We would often finish a contract on a Friday and start a new one on a Monday. And we worked some of those contracts closer to home so that we were still able to meet like the tax home rules and stuff while working nearly 52 weeks a year.
Yeah, and that was something that we planned. Like, in my mind back then, I'm like, okay, 30 days off. I'm not going to take 30 days off a year. So instead, we take contracts close. We can go home for long weekends or holidays or whatever, and we can make that 30 days being at home without ever taking time off of work. So that was all like, again, part of like trying to be as aggressive as possible to get to these goals.
Mm-hmm. So that was the summer 2015 right after graduation to summer 2018, 3 full years. Now in summer 2018, we finished our second contract for that year, and then we took off the entire rest of 2018. We went abroad to Europe and Asia for 5 months, and then spent like a month at home around the holidays. That also like changed our mindset about like what we were going to do in the future. And that was when we established that we were, pretty much semi-retired. We were going to work 6 months on, 6 months off. So we came back in 19 and worked a contract, and then took a 4-month trip to Europe, followed by a road trip, and then started another contract at the end of 19. So we did like 6 months in 2019 and 6 months of traveling for fun. And then in 2020, we were finishing up that one contract from the end of 2019, and we were planning on taking another 4 or 5 month trip to South America and Central America in 2020. That was canceled because of COVID. So then we ended up spending, after the one contract was done in like February of 2020, we ended up spending pretty much the rest of the year at home. We really dove a lot more into our travel therapy mentor business at that time. And we also worked PRN just like a few, I don't think we were working 40 hours a week,
No.
but we were working a few days a week PRN.
For just a few months.
A few months of 2020 at home. And that was our first experience with like doing like a PRN outpatient contract. And then we took a road trip. And then in 21, we did one contract and then also traveled quite a bit internationally and domestically in 21.
You worked in Hawaii. I don't think.
Yeah,
I don't
actually,
work at
Jared
all
didn't
21.
work. So you might have just worked a little bit of our PRN job. We would pop back in town every like 6 months or so and work a little bit of PRN in 21. And then in 22, we took one contract, and that was in Alaska for 3 months. And that was actually the first time. Oh, actually, in 21, I only worked a part-time contract. So we've gotten questions about that before. Because our business had picked up so much and I had become accustomed to not working full-time, I didn't want to go to Hawaii and work 40 hours a week. So I negotiated with a clinic to let me do a part-time travel therapy contract, which is not normal. Most of you, if you go and ask your recruiter if you could work a part-time contract, if that's a goal of yours or something you're wanting to do, most of them are going to say that's not possible or they haven't heard of it, but we found a way. And it's like sometimes if you just ask, they'll be willing to do. So yeah, in 21, when we went to Hawaii, I only worked 3 days a week. And Jared didn't work at all. So we had plenty of time to also enjoy Hawaii while we were there. 22, we both went to Alaska for 3 months and we worked 2 days a week. Again, just negotiated with the owner of the clinic. We were like, hey, this is what we want. And financially we could afford to do it. And they agreed to do it. We get questions about insurance. So all these time periods where we're not working full time, and we're taking all this time off and traveling for fun, we do marketplace plans. So many people feel beholden to an employer for insurance. Yes, it's a little bit more expensive to do independent insurance, but it's not a deal breaker for us because it's like it allows us to have so much more freedom and flexibility.
And we haven't, neither of us has worked full time at all since 2019. So all these, it was like what was it? No, I guess the end of 2019 was the last time we ever worked full 40 hours. So from the beginning of 2020 on, we've been on marketplace plans 6 years now. So it's not a huge deal at all.
Yeah. So that brings us to 22. And 23, I think we didn't take a contract at all.
I don't think so either. We did a lot of international travel.
Yes. So we kind of knew at that point, we got engaged after being together for eight or 9 years. We got engaged in 22 and started planning a wedding for 23. And we kind of thought, okay, we're heading toward settling down and starting a family. So in 22 and 23, we just hit the ground running with all kinds of international travel that we had pent up that we didn't get to do in like 20 and 21. Went to so many places, made it to our seventh continent, Antarctica.
We did that in 24.
We made it to our 50th state and our
last
national park. So we just did all this travel during that time, kind of knowing that we were coming toward the end of our like full-time travel days and wanting to start a family. So yeah, we got married in 23, traveled all over the place, went to our final continent in the beginning of 24, and I actually got pregnant at that time.
Which was exactly what we planned. That was lucky that it worked out that way.
Yeah, so to answer your question, I got pregnant while we were still traveling, but like not necessarily on a travel contract, but we ended up taking one more travel contract while I was pregnant in 2024.
Part-time, 2 days a week.
So we knew that we wanted to do another travel PT contract before we had a baby. So we found a contract that was only like 2 hours from home in Virginia, in like a cool city in Virginia that we wanted to visit that we hadn't lived in before. And again, we negotiated a part-time contract 2 days a week at an outpatient clinic. And that way I could still come home for my appointments. Again, we were on our own private insurance for those that want to do that. We've done some videos back in 2024 where I talked more about like pregnancy and family planning around traveling. We have definitely talked to other people that travel both with kids or while pregnant. There's a lot more logistics to it, but people make it work if that's part of your goal.
And we thought we would do that. There was kind of when Whitney said we started, we thought we wanted to do 5 years. And then at some point we were like, oh, why would we stop traveling? We could just do 1 contract or 2 contracts a year and we could have kids and take kids. We thought we were going to do that. And then once we had the baby and realized it was harder than we thought, And I mean, every baby's different, but I think that our baby was particularly pretty difficult the first year compared to a lot of other people that we know. Hopefully, the second one will not be as much. But yeah, so just recently, she's almost 2 now. Has she been like pretty consistent and sleeping pretty good and all those things that would make us be like, okay, maybe we could travel. But for the first year, 15 months, it was like we didn't want to do anything. We didn't want to be out of the house. We didn't want to be off of her routine because it would just, make our lives miserable and make her.
And I think we just had a different perspective too, because we just already have traveled so much. But
Yeah.
we know we have friends that are still taking contracts while bringing their baby along. We know people that make it work. It just depends on your goals and your priorities. You can do anything you want. Like,
Yeah.
just search on YouTube. There's people doing anything you want to do.
Yeah.
If it's your goal and you put your mind to it. But we had just kind of, we're coming toward the end of like 10 years of just traveling full time.
Yeah, I will say, had we had a baby, let's say in 2018 or 19, yes, we would have traveled with the baby. We would have made it work.
Mhm.
But yeah, by the time we actually did, and she was born in 24, yeah, we were kind of coming to the end of all the travel we wanted to do. We pretty much marked off everywhere we wanted to be. There's only like 3 more places in the world that we want to visit, that were on kind of like a bucket list. So it's like, we felt like we'd already done it. We were kind of getting to the point where it wasn't that fulfilling anymore. Um, you should probably stop traveling when these international trips that we go on. I would almost like dread leaving the night that we were leaving. Like, of course, you're excited, but I would also be like, oh man, I know all the hassle that's going to come along with this, and missed flights and bad sleep, and all these things. Once you get to that point, and it's like equal parts excitement and dread, then that's probably the time to stop traveling as much.
But to get kind of back to your question in the timeline, so we worked that one contract during the first part of my pregnancy, and then we finished up when I was in like second trimester, and then we came back home, and have been home pretty much since my second trimester of our first pregnancy. So we came back home, we had the baby at home, and kind of settled in to our townhouse where we had been living off and on, like just in between travels. That was kind of our home base. We ultimately decided to move back to our hometown. We decided that when we had children, it was really important to us to be close to family. We know a lot of people make other decisions. We know tons of people that have found where they wanted to be through travel, or maybe they ended up moving where they went to school and set down roots there. But for us personally, having traveled all over the world and traveled to so many different places, there's maybe a list of like a couple places that we would have preferred to live than home. But when push came to shove, we were just like, those places don't really outweigh the benefits of being close to family. And we're so glad that we made the decision to move back close to family with a baby. That's been really important to us. We've really enjoyed, well, for one, our families would have felt really deprived without being close to our baby, and they've really gained a lot from like seeing our baby and being involved in her life week after week. And it's been a huge help to us. So we love it. We've just really been thriving and enjoying being home after so many years of travel. So we're not ruling out traveling with our kids in the future, both for fun or for contracts. But for right now, like, this just feels so good. Like, we really enjoyed these last like year and a half, 2 years at home. So yeah, just to kind of like carry this through the end. So in 24, we pretty much settled down back at home, had our baby. Neither of us worked as PTs for the first year of her life, year plus, which was so nice. Like, I know that that's a lot of your goal, is like, wow, when I have a family, like if I didn't have to work full time, like that would be amazing. Because unfortunately, we know that so many people are tied to a job, financially, to where you might take your maternity leave, but your partner probably isn't also taking leave, one. And then two, you might only take 3 months or 2 months of your maternity leave and then have to go right back to work and put your kid in childcare or something. And so we feel so fortunate that we worked to this point in our life of financial stability where we both took off a year to spend the first year at home with her, and just worked on our business, which is extremely part-time, from home, but did not work clinically for an entire year. After a year, I decided that I needed to at least go back PRN, because we knew we wanted to have another kid. And so I was like, I better at least go work PRN for however long, the next 6 months or the next year or whatever, before we decide to have another child, so I can at least get my hours, maintain my skills, keep up my license. So I started working PRN around the time our daughter turned 1 at our local hospital. So for the last like 6-9 months, I've been working, was it 9 months? It was probably like November when I started. 1 half day a week. I know it's crazy. It's funny. It's
4 to
like
5
I work
hours.
4 to 5 hours a week. Split between, I float between inpatient and like IPR and acute care. It's been so flexible. It's been so nice. It allows me to still keep up my license and my skills and kind of feel involved, but it's very minimal time away from my family and our baby, which has been so nice. Well, Jared still hadn't worked up until a couple months ago, and then he was kind of getting to the point of like, wait, am I going to let my PT license go, or what's going to happen here?
It had been, I mean, I've kind of been going through a little bit of an identity crisis, I would say, since probably 2020. Whether or not, like, am I going to be a PT? Am I just going to be done with working? What am I going to do? Am I going to do something else? Like, yeah, our business, we work on that a decent amount, but it's like, it's from home. I don't have to leave the house. There's no pressure to get things done. So it's like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like work. And so I thought about letting my license go, and I've been on the fence about that. And I've been working just enough to renew it every 2 years. And this was the time where I was like, I might just let it go. But, it's hard. That's a hard decision to make. So it just so happened that one of Whitney's like very part-time jobs, they have a outpatient clinic there that is like the ideal outpatient clinic that we would always said that we would want to work at. And I was like, well, if they will hire me very part-time, then I'll do it. If not, I'll just let my license go. And I was basically just at that point and interviewed.
Well, you had contemplated some other options too. He had contemplated like maybe PRN home health or something that was like very flexible.
But realistically, I wasn't going to do it. It was either going to be work at this clinic that was like ideal and not stressful, or just let my license go. Because after being out of the clinic for 1.5 years, and I really only have worked maybe 300 or 400 hours in the last 5 years in the clinic, not a lot at all. It's intimidating to go back more than a couple of days a week or 8 or 9 hours a week. So but they ended up hiring me, and so now I'm doing 2 half days a week, and that's like the maximum that I would want to do in the clinic. But it actually has been really good because it's just enough that I kind of get excited about going to work, but not enough that I like, I'm dreading it or stressed out about things. And it's a one-on-one outpatient, 45 minutes. Most I can have in a day is six patients. So, I'm not going to be dreading it the night before like I would if it was a busy outpatient clinic or home health and I didn't know what I was getting into and those types of things.
Yeah, it's worked out really well. Back when we were both students, Jared and I both went to different PT schools, but we're both from the same hometown. And so individually on separate years, we had both had internships at the clinic where Jared's working out. It's a hospital-based outpatient at our local like community hospital.
We coincidentally had the same CI, which was pretty crazy.
2 different schools, whatever. I was there as a second year, he was there as a third year. And so back then we remember talking about like, this would be the ideal clinic to have a job at. It's like pretty laid back. It's one-on-one, hospital-based outpatient. If you've ever worked it, is like a lot better usually caseload and productivity-wise than private practice. So we always kind of had in the back of our mind, like if we moved back here, that would be a great job to have. But the clinicians that work there have been there for like 20 or 30 years. Like there's not much turnover.
There's very, very little turnover.
And so we just kind of always thought like we wouldn't be able to get a job there, but it just so happened that it worked out because some of them work part-time. And so they actually did have some like gaps in the schedule when we just pitched it to them, because it's the same manager that manages like the inpatient and the outpatient. So I pitched it to my manager. I was like, hey, if my husband, who's a PT, wanted to work like part-time in the outpatient, would they need part-time hours? And she was like, oh yeah, like they could use a part-time person. There was no job listing. It wasn't listed online. So sometimes you just have to ask, and you never know. Like
sometimes you just have to have a wife that will ask for
you. People say, oh, it's all about the connections, but like, I don't know. Sometimes you just have to call somebody and ask them, and maybe they say yes, maybe they say no, but like sometimes there's a job available that might not be listed. So anyway, it's just all worked out really perfect. And actually my ideal long-term, I have never really contemplated letting my license go. I've always known that like I wanted to continue to be a PT. I really, I'm very passionate about helping people and being involved. And, you know, I knew that I wanted to take off this time while we have a baby and we have our next baby. But ultimately, long term, like I do want to continue to work as a physical therapist. So for the next couple of years, I'll probably kind of do the PRN, acute care, and inpatient rehab because it's just a little more flexible to pop in and out of the hospital when I want to pick up hours, versus being an outpatient where you kind of need to have more of a set schedule. But long term, after we have our next baby, I would also like to go and work with Jared at the outpatient clinic. So we're kind of thinking like our ideal schedule long term would be that we each work 2 half days. So you just go in for like the morning shift before lunch. So right now with like documentation and stuff, his schedule's working out to be like 5 hours a day, twice a week.
Yep.
Which is pretty ideal. Like you said, it's like 6 patients a day.
Yeah. Pretty awesome.
So it's pretty great. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Jared's working 2 half days a week, a set schedule with his own caseload at the outpatient clinic at our local hospital. And I'm going to work up until my 1 half day a week, up until I'm about 30 weeks pregnant. So we are pregnant with our second baby, and he will be born right around the time our daughter turns 2. But I'm going to stop working around 30 weeks. So I only have like 3 shifts left this month, before I'm going to take off. And I'm just going to see how it goes with the next baby. I don't know what life is going to look like with 2 kids. But I took a year off before, and I might take a year off again, and then we'll just kind of revisit. But yeah, I feel really good about where we're at with like our work situation. And now we've kind of built a good connection at the hospital. It's the hospital I was born in. It's the hospital our baby was born in. It's the hospital where I've always gone.
It's the hospital the next baby will be born in. And
it's the hospital where we had our
3 months.
internships. So we feel very well connected in this hospital, and it's like, very close. We're going to talk about home and our house situation as well. But yeah, so we're super excited about like kind of where we're at and where we're headed with our work-life balance. It feels good to be back helping patients, you know, a few hours a week, but it's so low key that like we don't feel stressed at all. Like there's zero burnout happening from our clinical care at this time. Yeah. So yeah, that's where we're at. We're about to have our second baby in November. Our daughter will be 2 in October, and we're both working just a few hours a week, PRN basically. So the other big update that we have is that we just bought a house.
Yeah, so Whitney talked about our townhouse. We had that from 2020 to like 2025, and that was never going to be a long-term thing. It was just convenient. We needed a place during COVID to be, and it was pretty cheap. We were able to pay cash for it, so that was really nice. And so we're there off and on for 5 years, and then we sold that last year. And I think last year made a video about our decisions back then, and I wrote an article about it too. But we decided to rent for a year, and we originally thought we were going to rent for 2 or 3 years. So we kind of wanted to just try out some different houses, different neighborhoods in our area, and decide where we wanted to be. And we found this awesome house in a neighborhood that we thought was like our dream neighborhood, and rented it. And we thought we were going to stay here 2 or 3 years or maybe longer. And it turned out to not be. I mean, the neighborhood is wonderful. We love it. Views are great. Anybody that sees our Instagram stories, we have some really, really awesome views here, and it's like probably the nicest neighborhood around here. So everyone that lives here loves it. Everyone's nice. It's mostly physicians. And what we didn't realize though is that it's further away than we want to be from stuff. It's like 15 minutes from almost anything. 20 minutes from work. It's 15 minutes from the grocery store. 15 minutes from the gym. Which for some of you guys might not sound like a big deal, but for us, we were used to being very, very close to everything. And then some other little things like the road to get here is a little windy. Whitney doesn't love that, especially driving with the baby.
Yeah, we live in Roanoke, Virginia, which is in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And so one of the reasons why we have such gorgeous views here is that we're a little bit more tucked back in the mountains. And it's really picturesque. It's really nice. It's a little more private, and we initially kind of thought that's what we wanted. And so we're actually really glad that we ended up finding this rental opportunity at this house, because like Jared said, we kind of originally thought, like when we were house hunting, that if a house came up for sale in this neighborhood, that this is where we wanted to live. And
we thought this was our dream neighborhood.
Yeah, and so when we had the opportunity to live here for a year in the rental, we kind of realized that it's not everything that we thought it was going to be, and that we actually value being a little bit closer to town than we thought, especially in this stage of our life with children and growing a family and like wanting to be closer to things. So yeah, it actually, it's funny. Like we took a picture of our house and posted it last year and said, okay, we sold our townhouse. Now we're living in this nice rental house. And I think a lot of people thought, maybe they didn't read the caption, I don't know. And they thought like we bought this house. And they're like, wait, I thought you already bought a house. And we're actually really glad we did not buy this house. It's a beautiful house, a beautiful neighborhood, but we're like, we learned something that we don't actually want to be here. So like Jared said, it's kind of a windy road to get back here. It's a little bit dangerous in my opinion. I don't love it. It's like windier here than it is in town.
We're up on a hill, and in the winter it was crazy.
Yeah, and so I don't know. There's just pros and cons, like to different parts of town and everything. But I think that we ultimately decided we want to be a little closer to town. So yeah, so all that to say that we rented for this past year, and we hoped that we were going to stay here more than a year. But with getting pregnant again and having another baby on the way, we kind of got to the point where we were like, we should make a decision about like, are we going to buy a house? Like, where are we going to be? And this house, it doesn't have a great layout to have all of like the bedrooms on the same level with the baby coming. So that was a big deciding factor. So yeah, we were kind of in a position of like, our lease is ending. Are we going to rent somewhere else or are we going to buy a house?
So initially I wanted to just try renting in another area again, try a different area that we thought we might like. And same situation, maybe we rent there for a while, we decide we actually don't like it, instead of just buying something and hoping that we actually do like it as much as we hope. But there wasn't a whole lot of great rental options. We never found something that we were really excited about like we were about this place. And then a house popped up that was very, very close to work, close to everything, in a neighborhood we didn't really even know anything about. And we ended up making an offer on it. They accepted it. And yeah, it's not exactly what we were looking for, but it is going to be a much better location, and I think it'll be great for us for 3 to 5 years, and then we can continue to save money and buy like our hopefully forever home at that point. But I'm sure a lot of you guys understand that the housing market is kind of insane right now. So we were looking at places that were kind of, I would say, at the top end of our budget. That would have been maybe a little bit stressful for me if we bought them. Whereas this place, we were able to pay cash again for it, so it will not be stressful at all, and we can just continue to save, and our monthly expenses will be very low. So, and then of course, being 5 minutes or less from work is going to be awesome. Being 5 minutes or less from the grocery store and the gym, and so we're pretty excited to move to the new location.
Yeah. So we had kind of been putting a lot of pressure on ourselves to like find this forever home. Like we had hoped that like we would just move directly from our townhouse to what would be our long-term forever home. But as you guys know, the housing market has been really crazy the last couple of years. Things are really overpriced right now, and we just weren't finding exactly what we've been looking for. We've been looking kind of roughly for the last like 2-3 years for a house. So we kind of got antsy to get out of the townhouse. Like we just didn't want to be there anymore. And we wanted to move into more of like a single family home. We wanted to move to the other side of town and try it out. So that's why we ended up selling and renting. A lot of people are like, you were owners and now you're renters. Like that's a weird decision, but it's what we did. And yeah, again, like we were really hoping to go directly from this rental to our forever home, but it just wasn't working out. And with a baby on the way, we kind of had a deadline in place. So I would say that what we're moving to now is more of what we would consider like a starter home, or a lot of people would consider like a starter home. Like there's nothing wrong with it.
I wouldn't say it's a starter home. Well, I would say our townhouse was like a starter home. This is like
a mid-level.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not the house that we would want to be in forever. Like ideally, if we can find a forever home that's like a little bit bigger, a little bit more updated, and has a little more land. This only has like a third of an acre. But it is on a cul-de-sac, which is nice, but it's not quite as private as we'd like. It doesn't have a finished basement. It doesn't have like an updated kitchen, like those kind of things. So I think it's going to be a really good home for us for like 3 to 5 years while we have young children. And that'll give us more of an opportunity to just kind of relax, settle in, and then maybe just continue to kind of keep an eye out for that forever home. But yeah, like Jared said, it was definitely like at the lower end of our budget. We were able to pay cash for it, which was incredible. So yeah, we just bought a house this week. And we are going to gradually move into it over the next month. So yeah, we're super excited to just kind of get moved from this rental into our house, get settled in. Nesting is a thing. Like I'm excited to nest for the baby and get ready for the baby in November. Yeah. So we have a lot of exciting things happening. New baby, new house. Jared's working again. Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at in life right now. So as I mentioned, we are just really thriving and enjoying this time at home with our family and not traveling. And I mean like not traveling, like not even taking any trips. Like we have no trips planned.
Well, we still travel more than I would say most people travel.
Well, we haven't really traveled in like a year.
No.
Other than just, I mean, we took like a weekend trip to Asheville.
Yeah, we did something else. We went to Wisconsin.
Well, that was a year ago.
We have a weekend trip coming up. I mean, we still travel a little bit,
but like nothing
like
crazy. Like we're not putting the baby on a plane anytime soon.
Yeah,
we're not going international.
Also, we went to CSM, California.
Yeah.
So I mean, we still travel a decent amount.
But anyway, it's been nice. It's been just good to be home, and we're totally cool with that right now because we have traveled so much. So we'll see what the next year brings with 2 children, like what that looks like. And we definitely want to travel more with them in a few years. Like we'd love to get an RV again.
Yeah.
And take some more road trips. And take the kids and show them the national parks and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll see what the next few years brings. But right now we're really liking being at home.
So we're not ruling out travel contracts in the future, but we are definitely ruling out full-time travel contracts in the future. Like that is not even a possibility anymore. We could do 2 days a week, but even that kind of feels like pushing it these days with like how used to having free time we've gotten. So if we ever did take another travel contract, it would be each of us taking probably 2 days a week or something like that. We could make that work.
Yeah, we'd love to go back to Alaska. I can't wait to go back to Alaska.
Yeah, if we had 3 or 4 years from now, if we had 2 kids and we could find another part-time contract in Alaska, that would definitely be a pretty good option.
Yeah. So we'll see. So that's where we're at in life right now. We just bought a house. We're about to have another baby. We're hanging out at home. We're still actively mentoring and educating travel therapists. So we're still putting out content on our website. We just did a presentation the other day for a DBT program. We help people all the time. So reach out to us if you have questions about getting started with travel therapy. We're definitely still doing, the mentorship business and all that. But yeah, we're just enjoying, very, very part-time PT work and enjoying our family and just, kind of reaping the benefits of having achieved financial independence and being semi-retired, mostly retired.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, so we had a couple questions come through. If you guys are watching live and have any more questions, we will answer them. Thanks for those of you that watched live on Instagram and Facebook. We appreciate you. M says, my boyfriend and I love traveling. Thank you for all your recommendations over the past year and a half. You are welcome. We're so glad to hear that. Charles says, hey, and then M had also asked about having the baby, which we answered. I think some people said, hey, over here on Facebook. What's up, Nick? How are you?
Jared was in the comments over here. What's going on?
Yeah, so thank you guys for joining. Again, if anybody has any questions, let us know. We're always available if you want to send us a message on social media or send us an email. But yeah, that's a little.
One other thing to add, not traveling so much makes being like semi-healthy way, way easier. That's something I've kind of struggled with since we started taking travel contracts, just because back then, like 2015 to 2018 was like, busy, stressful. I would just eat a lot. And then when we started traveling internationally, I don't care what anybody says. If you're traveling for 4 or 5 months, it's very, very difficult to eat remotely healthy, because even when we started like getting Airbnbs that had kitchens and things and trying to cook, it's just so much harder because you're busy during the day, trying to make it to a grocery store, trying to make it back. And then things like, do they have pots and pans? They have just all the intricacies that come along with international travel. So we were never really good about that, but being home has been really good for that. So I'm down 35 pounds since the beginning of the year, which has been good, working out consistently, eating much better. So that's been a major benefit of not traveling so much as well.
Yeah, Jared's been able to really just kind of dial in his fitness journey, and that's been really nice just to have like that routine. I definitely think that's one of the harder parts of travel contracts, not as much, but it is still hard. Like you get off your routines when you move to new travel contracts, but definitely international travel, it's hard to stay on a routine.
As probably has come across in this video, I'm a little bit of an all or nothing person when it comes to some things. So that's how it is for nutrition and stuff for me as well. It's like when we're traveling and I don't care about it, I really don't care about it. And when we're at home, then I really can focus on it, and then I really care about it. So
all the weight that Jared's losing, I'm gaining as I grow a baby. We're 26 weeks pregnant right now. But I did pretty good last time, not gaining much weight during my pregnancy. I haven't been as active this pregnancy as last pregnancy because it's been more challenging with the toddler and everything, but trying to stay somewhat active. We just haven't been hiking as much, unfortunately.
it's been hot.
It's also been really hot. Yep. Margie says, hey friends, congrats on all your big news. Thank you so much, Margie. We appreciate it. Jared says, thanks so much for sharing. We definitely look up to you guys and appreciate the valuable information. Yeah, we appreciate that, Jared. Yeah, we love Jared and Kaylee. They're a rising young travel PT couple that are also out there just doing awesome things, taking amazing contracts, hitting bucket list spots, traveling internationally, just doing all the fun things. So I'm so glad you guys are enjoying it. And then also, working towards your financial goals. So Congrats, guys.
Yeah, congrats.
Yeah, so we're not the only ones. We know so many other travel therapists that are achieving and working toward these goals. So.
We're just the crazy ones that did the extreme and then put ourselves out there on social media, I guess.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we're going to sign off for tonight. So that's a little update about life. Reach out if you have any questions, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yep. Take care, everyone.
Bye.